Hello, this is Simon Hyatt. I am the contributing editor of Asian Banking and Finance. We are here today in the ABF magazine headquarters in Singapore to celebrate the winners of the most prestigious banking awards in the Asia-Pacific region, the Asian Banking and Finance Awards 2022. I am joined today by Lee Yung Chee, Managing Director, Mergers and Acquisitions, Advisor at UOB. UOB has won the Mergers and Acquisitions Deal of the Year award for Singapore in the ABF Corporate and Investment Banking Awards. Yung Chee, thank you so much for joining me today, and congratulations on your award win.
Simon, thank you. We are very excited to be here. It is indeed a very important transaction for us that puts us on a very different footing for our home ground terrain in ASEAN. So really excited that we've won this award in recognition of our efforts.
Yung Chee, can you please walk us through the acquisition process of Citigroup's consumer banking businesses? What were your main considerations in entering this venture, and what were the main challenges that you had to overcome?
Well, Simon, I think it was a pretty natural acquisition for us to look at. If you look back at UOB's history, we've done about 8 acquisitions in the 86 years of history. So call it roughly every decade we'll make a major transaction. And we haven't done one in about 15 years, right? And the market had been asking and waiting to see what sort of transformational growth strategy we would adopt. Now, we have looked at several targets repeatedly over the years, but it was Citi when they announced that they were going through a revamp of their global strategy and was considering a sale of their ASEAN retail businesses. Well, they were actually looking at selling their Asian retail businesses. The ASEAN piece in particular caught our attention because that's our backyard. That's exactly where we are rooted. That's where we are growing our timber. That's where we believe in the region, the people, and the growth opportunities. So it was in some ways stars getting aligned here, and internally we had actually named the project Constellation. We joke about it, now and even still as we execute on integrating the businesses, but it was truly a situation where stars were aligned for us. And Simon, in January 14, 2022, when we announced this transaction, it was a culmination of almost a year's effort in getting to that point. Now, some 600 people in the bank across the region, across teams, were involved. And if you recall, actually during that period of time, it was right smack in the middle of the COVID measures and travel restrictions. And we were literally running 4 M&A transactions in parallel at the same time, targeted to announce and close at the same time. And we were doing all of that virtually. Now, for those of us who have been involved in transactions of this nature, it is challenging enough to do 4 transactions. It was even worse when we had to do everything from due diligence, discussions and debates, quarrels, negotiations, and even dotting the T's and dotting the I's and crossing the T's on the legal documentation with the full sets of lawyers and advisors. That was all done virtually. So kudos to the team. I applaud the 600 odd people who got us to that point in time. And since then, we now have probably a few thousand people across both UOB and Citi working feverishly night and day to try and get this transaction closed and integrated. So we are really, really very excited about this.
How do you think this acquisition will improve your business? And how will it change the banking business landscape in ASEAN?
Well, the bank acquisition will effectively add about $1 billion to our bottom line. And it reinforces our footprint in ASEAN. So effectively, we have gone to top 3 retail bank positions in each and every market for us. Some 7 million customers in ASEAN will become customers of UOB overnight. The 7 million customers actually is a combination of both UOB's existing footprint as well as Citi's footprint. It also adds about 5,000 people from Citi into our midst. And this transaction was made not just a matter of buying assets and portfolio. Citi's business was built because of its people. It was a very important aspect of the transaction for us that the team from UOB and Citi can be integrated together to drive our businesses going forward. Now, the addition of this 5,000 people and 7 million customers to our franchise will effectively catapult our growth ambitions by as much as 5 years ahead of schedule. So it's truly transformational for us, Simon.
Yung Chee, you have a strong history of acquiring banks and other portfolios. What makes the acquisition of Citigroup's consumer banking business different? Do you have future acquisition ventures in the pipeline?
That's a interesting question, Simon. We've been quiet for a while, and even though we have not made a major acquisition in the last decade, we've been very consciously looking at targets. We've been reviewing many opportunities, but none came close in terms of the rationale and impetus and the catalyst to actually do this for us. Now, the Citi transaction is probably the most transformational for us since we bought Overseas Union Bank, or OUB for short, back in 2001, 2002. Now, if we were to look forward in terms of where things are headed, it is quite likely that the future acquisition for us will look very different. Opportunities that were conventional in nature previously, where you add loads of branches and people, loads of footprint and network, ATMs, for example, these will become increasingly less important as customers, banks, employees all move and evolve with digital technology and tools. So we would expect that the landscape of acquisition opportunities will evolve as we progress as well.
How do you plan to follow through on the success of this deal?
There are 4 transactions, as you can well appreciate. I think there is a lot for us to be executing, and the pressure is certainly on us to make sure we get this done in as quick a time as possible. The most important criteria for us now is to really make sure that the customer journey for not just the UOB customer, but the Citibank customer that is coming onto our platform is as seamless as possible, that they enjoy the product suite that we have to offer, but to do so in a way where it feels natural. It's personalized for them, it's dynamic for them, but most importantly, it feels like a natural transition for them. The last thing we want to do is to jeopardize what we've acquired by letting the customers feel that it's a challenging or unhappy transition for them. The same thing goes for our employee journey as well. With 5,000 people coming over from Citi, you can imagine that the workforce requires a certain level of harmonization in terms of how we treat our staff, their career progression, and there will be concerns. There will be situations where staff may feel a little bit worried. And I think we have sought to ensure and assure all the employees that we had no intentions whatsoever to restructure the workforce. We bought the business and its people. So with that, I think the task ahead of us for the next 2 to 3 years is going to be very much focused on integration and making sure that the journey is as smooth as possible for everyone involved.
Lee Yung Chee, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations once again on your award win.
We're most honored, Simon, and thank you to you and the ABF team for giving us this honor.